13 Roads. Here is a tale I have not yet forgotten. Listen. Tonight it is Davan Ashcroft, a man who found his own name written in a book he had never touched, on a road he had survived, in ink that was still wet. He found it on the 43rd page. He counted. He was the kind of man who counted things, who kept tallies in the margins of his receipts, who once catalogued every stone in a boundary wall just to know how many there were. The kind of man who believes that knowing the number of a thing is the same as understanding it. He was wrong about that. Most people who find the ledger are wrong about that. Here is what the book did to him. It let him read his own name, and then it took the page away, and for the rest of his life, 9 years, 2 months, 11 days, he counted those too. He could not shake the certainty that something on the bone road had finished reading him. He was not the first. He will not be the last. And I know this because I have read my own name in that book as well. That last part I will come back to. Davan Ashcroft came to the bone road the way most people come to it, through a door that was not supposed to be there. His was set into the back wall of a mill house in the river district of Corl, behind a rack of drying nets that smelled of old scales and brine. The door had no handle. It opened when he leaned against it, which he did because he was tired, and the wall looked solid, and he did not expect it to give. That is how most of the doors on these roads work. They are calibrated for the moment a person stops being cautious. He was 31. He had walked half the night through wet streets, looking for a man named Ordwick Fenn, who owed him 11 years of wages, and he had not found him, and the anger in his chest had curdled into something quieter and harder, the way anger does when it has nowhere to go. He stepped through the door. The brine smell cut off as if a hand had been pressed over it. The air on the other side was cold and dry and tasted faintly of chalk. The bone road does not look like what you would imagine from the name. There is no scatter of remains, no architecture of skulls. The name comes from the stone itself, a pale, yellowish limestone that runs the full length of the road in wide, flat slabs, each one worn smooth by centuries of feet. And when the light catches those slabs at the right angle, they do look, in a way that is difficult to explain to someone who has not seen it, like the cross-sections of very large bones, cortical rings, growth lines. The road feels like walking across something that was once alive and has been lying still for a very long time. The marker is at the midpoint. Every road has a center, a place where whatever the road is becomes most itself. On the bone road, the center is marked by a single stone pillar, chest high, about the width of a man's shoulders, with no inscription on any face. Nothing carved, nothing painted, just stone. And at the base of the pillar, in a shallow depression in the ground that might have been made by water, or by hands, or by repetition of the same weight placed in the same spot over a very long time, there is a book. It is not chained. It is not locked. It is not even, by any observable mechanism, protected. It sits in that shallow depression, and it is, when you find it for the first time, very obviously the most important object you have ever been in the same physical space with. That is not a metaphor. The feeling is physical. A pressure behind the sternum, a narrowing of peripheral vision, the specific quality of attention your body produces when it has identified something as significant before your mind has caught up. Prey attention, the kind that sharpens your hearing. Davan found the marker roughly 2 hours into the road. He had not meant to walk 2 hours. He had meant to look at whatever was on the other side of the door and then walk back through it, because the door was still visible as a pale rectangle of dim light behind him, and he was the kind of man who always kept his exits. But exits on the bone road are one of the things that do not behave the way exits should. The door stayed visible. The distance to it did not change. He walked toward it for 20 minutes, and it remained exactly as far away as it had been. So he turned around and walked the other direction, the way you try the other end of a corridor when one end fails. And the marker was there, and the book was there, and he stopped. He stood over it for some time before he touched it. The book is large, the size of a ledger, which is in fact what people who have found it tend to call it, the ledger, though no one has agreed on where that name came from, or whether the object itself has a name at all. The cover is a dark material that is almost certainly leather, and from which most people reflexively pull their fingers after a few seconds, though they cannot say why. The pages are thick, cream-colored, the edges uneven in the way of paper that was made by hand. The ink is dark brown, nearly black, and the names are written in a script that is consistent, the same hand throughout, or something that maintains the discipline of one hand, but the language shifts. Latin runs into something older, kanji beside what appears to be cuneiform, names in alphabets that do not correspond to anything in the historical record. And every name is a person who has walked the road. That much had been established, or rather, had been assembled, piece by piece, from the accounts of people who found the book and compared notes in the way survivors of strange things sometimes find each other. There are more of those accounts than you might expect. The Bone Road is not the most traveled of the roads, but it is not the least. And the marker is not hidden. People find it. People open the book, and a significant proportion of them, searching through the pages, find their own name. Not everyone finds their name. That is important. Roughly 1 in 3, based on what accounts exist, find nothing. They search the book, and it contains no record of them. Those people report a variety of reactions, most of which cluster around a specific flavor of relief that is not entirely comfortable to feel, because the relief implies a stakes they had not consciously registered until the danger passed. And some of those people have later said that the absence of their name was almost worse, that not being in the book felt less like being spared and more like being overlooked. The ones who find their name, and Davan was one, find it always on a page that does not seem, when approached from either direction, to be findable by increments. You do not reach page 43 by counting through 42 before it. The page is simply there, and then your name is on it. And around your name are other names in other languages, a full page of them, and yours is midway down the left column, and the ink appears to be wet. Davan touched it. He pressed the tip of his index finger to the bottom loop of the last letter of his surname and pulled away, and there was a dark smear on his fingertip. And he stood there in the cold, chalk-scented air with his own name on his skin and something happening in his chest that he would later describe to 3 different people as the feeling of being read. Not observed, not watched. Read. The way a page is read, from left to right, taken in, processed, the meaning extracted and the paper left behind with its words still on it, but somehow emptier than before. He looked up from the book. The road was empty in both directions. The pale stone slabs ran away from him into a distance that seemed to extend further than the physical space should have allowed, because the Bone Road, at its center, has that quality. A depth that does not match its width. A sense of corridor becoming plain, of local becoming very, very large. Nothing was visible, but the feeling did not go. He looked back at the page. He read the names around his own. 19 above, 11 below, 31 names on the left column, 28 on the right. 59 names on that page, including his, and he counted them because he was Davan Ashcroft, and that was what he did. And then he looked for page markers, for any indication of the book's total length, and found none. He tried to count the pages. The book was too thick. His fingers found no natural stopping point, as if the pages continued in a way that did not correspond to the physical dimensions of the spine. He closed it. He put it back in the depression at the base of the pillar. He turned, and the door was immediately visible and immediately reachable, and he walked through it in 4 minutes, which told him something about the road that he spent a long time afterward trying not to think about. He told no one for 6 weeks. Then he told his landlady, a woman named Sarah Vaughan, who had a reputation for neither gossiping nor dismissing. And she listened to the whole of it without expression, and then asked him, had he gone back to check? He had not. He went back 11 days later. The door in the millhouse wall opened the same way, leaning, tired, not expecting it to give. The road was identical. The marker was there. He found the book, opened it, and searched for the 43rd page. There was no 43rd page. Not in the sense of the page being torn out, in the sense that the book, examined from either end, contained no such page. The pages were numbered. He could see now that they were numbered, fine, pale numerals at the upper corner, and they ran 1 through 42, and then 44, and the page between them was simply absent, without gap, without residue, the way you expect a removed page to leave a ragged edge or a ghost of adhesive. But this left nothing, as if it had never been bound there at all. He searched for his name on page 44, on 45, on every page he could reach. He could not find it. He went back 17 more times over the next 8 years. He never found his name again. He found on one occasion a page where the ink appeared wet, and the names on it were in a hand he did not recognize, and a language he could not read, and he did not touch the ink that time, and he was never certain whether that restraint had been wisdom or cowardice. He told 4 more people about the book across those years, a rope merchant in Corl, a woman who studied old contracts for evidence of forgery, a young man who had walked the road himself and described finding the marker and feeling the pressure, but never opening the book, and one other person, whose name and occupation I am choosing not to share, because that person is still alive and has asked me not to. None of the people he told could tell him what the book was for. Which is the question that followed Davan Ashcroft from the mill house to his death at 40 years old. Not from anything on the road. He died of a fever, an ordinary fever with an ordinary arc, which, in its own way, is part of why his story stays with me. He did not die of the road. He died with the road unfinished in him, the question still open, the page still missing. The question is this: the names in the book are not just recorded, they are read by something. The wet ink is not residual, it is recent, and it is recent because the writing is being done continuously, and whatever is writing the names is not writing them as an archive. An archive is passive. An archive does not need the ink wet. The ink is wet because the writing is part of a process that is still underway, and the process is not record-keeping. It is closer to what a predator does when it marks something it intends to return to. And the page disappears, not because the information on it is gone, but because the reader, the thing that reads those pages in the night, the thing that extracted something from Davan Ashcroft when he touched his own name and felt himself being turned over and understood, that reader does not need the page anymore. It has what it came for. The page was not evidence. It was bait. Now, my own name. I found it on a road I will not name tonight, at a marker I will not describe precisely, on a page I held open for longer than I should have. I know the number of that page. I have gone back, as Davan went back, and found the number missing from the sequence, and felt the nothing where the page used to be. I did not touch the ink. I want to believe that matters. I want to believe that whatever Davan received in his chest when he pressed his finger to the bottom loop of his surname, that reading feeling, that being processed feeling, I want to believe it requires contact, that not touching is protection. Some nights I believe it. On those nights I sleep without interruption. On the other nights I lie in the dark and I think about the fact that I opened the book. I held the page. My eyes moved across my own name. And whatever reads those pages in the night between one visit and the next does not, as far as anyone has established, require the reader to touch the ink. It may only require the reader to have read. I have told you what I know about the ledger under the central marker of the Bone Road. I have told you about Davan Ashcroft, who was thorough and precise, and who took 9 years to die of a thing with nothing to do with any of this, and who never found his page again. I have told you that the book rearranges in the night. I have told you that something reads it. What I have not told you, because I do not know, and because I suspect that not knowing is the only honest position left to me, is whether being in the book is the same as being chosen, or whether it is the same as being scheduled. There is a road I have walked only once. The traveler I met on it carried something in a locked box and would not say what was in the box, but he said the box was addressed, and that the name on the address was one he had found in a book at a stone pillar, and that he was not delivering it of his own will. He said the road had him going in a direction he had not chosen, and he could not make it take him anywhere else. I watched him walk away. I have been thinking about that box for a long time. The next time I find a road I have not walked before, I will walk it, because not walking it has not made me less certain that something has my name on a page. It has only made me more certain that I have not yet seen what the page is for. Come back. There are travelers I have not yet told you about, and at least one of them found something in a locked box on a road with no exits that I think you need to hear before you walk anywhere unfamiliar.